You are about to read a sentence someone really wrote word for word in 1884. The last I saw of Mother, she was standing on the gallery crying. Read that twice. A formerly enslaved man wrote it decades after the fact, still trying to find her. He paid to have it printed word for word, hoping someone reading that page would recognize his mother and write back. Historians have now recovered over 5,000 ads exactly like his. Ordinary people searching newspaper by newspaper for decades for family that slavery had scattered. You are about to hear one of those searches, almost word for word, and I have to tell you up front, most of them never got an answer. Would you have kept placing that ad anyway year after year for a 1 in 50 chance? Here is the first number you need. Historians who cataloged these ads found that only about 2% of them ever ended in a documented reunion. 98 times out of 100, the ad just ran, and nobody ever wrote back. So who was actually placing these, and how did an ad in a newspaper ever reach a person who had been sold away, sometimes decades earlier and hundreds of miles away? You paid a newspaper by the line to print your family's names where you'd last seen them and who had owned them. And then that page didn't just sit in a house. Every Sunday in churches across the South, someone stood up and read the week's ads out loud to the whole congregation. Picture that for a second, an entire congregation listening in silence in case this week's list of missing names included someone they actually knew. That was the search engine. Human memory read aloud week after week. Here is one specific search with real names attached. In 1844 in County, Virginia, a boy was sold away from his mother. The boy's name was Thornton. Robert Rogers sold him to a man named in Richmond. His mother was sold separately by a man named Colonel Briggs to someone named James French. 2 sales, 2 directions, 1 family. Could you still name the exact county your own family was scattered from 21 years on? We don't know exactly how old Thornton was that day, old enough to remember it in precise detail 21 years later. Try to imagine carrying an address that specific, that long, with no way to act on it. 21 years, a childhood, a war, and emancipation, all passing between the moment he lost her and the moment he could finally do something about it. In 1865, freedom barely a few months old, Thornton placed an ad in the colored Tennessean, a black newspaper in Nashville. Information is wanted of my mother, whom I left in County, Virginia in 1844. I was sold in Richmond to Samuel. My mother's name was and was sold by Colonel Briggs to James French. Any information will be thankfully received. That is almost word for word what he paid to have printed. Read that ad again in your head. It is a grown man, free for the first time in his life, using that freedom to do exactly one thing: publish his mother's name in a newspaper and wait. Here is the part I have to be honest with you about. The historical record does not tell us what happened next. There is no follow-up ad, no letter, no reunion notice we can point to. We don't know if Thornton ever found. Statistically, the honest answer is that he probably didn't. 98 ads out of 100 ended exactly like this, printed, read aloud once, and then silence. But an unanswered ad isn't nothing. It's proof that a man who legally owned nothing and had been owned himself spent money he barely had on the one chance that was still alive to read it. Would you have spent that money on those odds? Thornton's ad is one of thousands. In the very same newspapers, in the very same years, other people were running the exact same search in their own words. Information is wanted of my 2 boys, James and Horace. One was sold in Nashville, the other in Rutherford County. I myself was sold in Nashville. A different mother, the same year, the same paper, the same silence waiting on the other side. On the other side of this, in the very same years, a slaveholder named Thomas Chaplin wrote in his own journal after selling 10 people to cover a gambling debt. The Negroes at home are quite disconsolate, but this will soon blow over. It did not blow over. It became a newspaper ad 21 years later, still asking the same question. Whose version of that story do you believe? The man who sold 10 people, or the man still searching 2 decades on? Here is what actually matters for you. These ads are not locked away in some archive you'll never see. University digitized everyone they could find, free, searchable by name. Search your own family surnames at .org tonight. It's free. The Christian Recorder and the colored Tennessean are both fully digitized. And if you want the full research behind all of it, Judith's book Last Seen lays out the whole project. Somebody in your family tree may have placed one of these ads and never told anyone, because there was nothing to tell, just a name printed once and silence. Have you ever actually looked? Genealogists using this exact database have already found real ancestors this way, people who typed in a surname expecting nothing, and found a great-great-great-grandmother's name printed in 1866. Every one of these ads was set by hand, one metal letter at a time, by someone who had no idea whether it would ever be read by the one person it was written for. The last I saw of Mother, she was standing on the gallery crying. Somewhere, a name in one of these 5,000 ads might be a name you already know. 5,000 people searched, 2% ever found who they were looking for. Every single one of them tried anyway. Tell me in the comments if you search that database tonight and what you find. And if stories built on real, checkable documents interest you, there's a lot more of this on the channel.